WrestleTalk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the WrestleTalk Podcast, check us out online at www.WrestleTalkPodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the WrestleTalk Podcast.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's installment of the WrestleTalk Podcast right here on all forms of social media and on WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Alongside me, as you can see on the screen, is my broadcast colleague, Justin Wade. Now, Justin, I got to tell you right now, from the way it looks, man, every time you come on the show, it seems like it's getting colder and colder in the Pacific Northwest. How you doing out there in the greater Washington area?
I'm doing great. It's about 34 right now. The snow's staying at bay. We're not getting much snow here right now, but I heard it's supposed to get bad again because it's coming from the east, coming from the Snoqualmie Pass, and they're already closing roads east of us. So it's earlier than usual, they said, for that to happen. So usually when it snows around here, my big tank of a Mercury Grand Marquis is useless in this type of weather. So for the next 2 hours, I'm trying to keep that out of my mind so we can enjoy some interesting and exciting wrestling talk.
Well, I got to tell you right now, Justin, again, as we have Assad welcoming us here to episode number 420 of the WrestleTalk Podcast. I got to tell you right now, tonight's going to be a great show. We've got a man who's going to be on the program here at 8:15 tonight, a man that you and I are both very familiar with, Justin, that being the Big Texan. And I got to tell you, the man has a, no pun intended, a very big, tall order this coming Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
When he takes on Attila Khan for the SICW Classic Championship. Justin, I know we're going to have Big Texan on here a little more than an hour, but I just got to ask you, you've seen both men in the ring. Yes. What can people expect this coming Saturday night in East Carondelet?
It is going to be what one amazing announcer called good old JR would call a slobber knocker. They are going to bring their A game to one another because I've known they've clashed in the past, and each time they take a bit of flesh, as they say, a pound of flesh every time they go to battle, and it's going to be interesting seeing these two big behemoths. It just brings me back to the old days, the strong style of Japan wrestling, and I get that feeling whenever those two get in the ring and tussle. They better have let's just say a blood bank nearby so they can replenish themselves after this Saturday.
Well, I got to tell you right now, Justin, we're going to talk more with the Big Texan here in a little more than an hour in our second hour. I got to tell you right now, the Big Texan has been on a roll of momentum. I mean, he is the current SICW tag champion along with the Night Train Gary Jackson. And I mean, again, if you're going to have anybody watching your back, especially being a tag team champion like Gary Jackson, that definitely has to be an ace in your pocket. And we're going to talk more about that later on here this evening on the program. I do want to remind people here, we've already had some people comment in tonight on tonight's program. Make it a point to like and share the broadcast. Also, if you want to join us, make sure that you identify yourself. Make sure that you are seen here on the chat, much like we had earlier with Assad being able to identify himself. Also, as a reminder to make sure to share the hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling, because that's what we're going to do here each and every week at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 6 o'clock Mountain Time, and 5 o'clock on the West Coast, where our good friend Justin Wade is here this evening. Now, Justin, I got to tell you, we're going to go ahead and take care of a little bit of business here. Give you a little bit of time to prepare because you know what's coming after this. Before we get things started tonight, we do need to go ahead here and take care of acknowledging not only our great wrestling fans that tune in each and every Tuesday night, but we also need to acknowledge our great sponsors. So we're going to go ahead and give our wonderful folks behind the scenes a second here to put up our list of great sponsors. We have Royal Mills Transportation. You get a chance, check them out in Kansas City with DeJuan Mills. Rathbun Engraving, if you want to pick up your very own WrestleTalk Podcast mug for $20. Make it a point to check us out online and ask for information. Noble Men's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, a place that I know that the Night Owl frequents regularly. Kincaid at the Oak Park Mall. Our good friends over at Interstate 70 Sports Media, Little Popeye Designs, the people behind those great podcast tumblers, and the world's premier fantasy wrestling group, the FWWC, which you can catch every Thursday night at 7:30 right here, not only at WrestleTalkPodcast.com, but all your other great wrestling media outlets. Now, guys, I got to tell you, tonight's going to be a great night of professional wrestling. Justin, I got to tell you, you said the word, that S word, the snow word. We don't want to talk about that here in St. Louis yet. I mean, if we could avoid snow altogether, that would be totally fine by me.
And by all means, when I was a kid, I loved the holy hell out of this crap. Now that I'm almost 40 years old, it's the bane of my existence. No one knows how to drive. And when you are driving, you got to drive like 15, 20 miles an hour. So it means you have to get up extra early. I love to sleep. And nothing gets me through a day like a good nap. And, I love, so having to wake up an extra hour early, make sure you get to work on time and safely. I sometimes, I love it that I'm here in Seattle, but I need to find a place that has, I might need to head down to Clearwater and hang out with the Hulkster because he has a nice little karaoke every Monday and Tuesday nights and bang and clang down at the gyms, like he would say, and enjoy the nice Clearwater beach.
Well, you know something, Justin? You could always go the traditional mode and go to Venice Beach and go out there and make sure that you're lifting. Because I know I can tell you, for those that can't tell here on the WrestleTalk podcast, you are a very, very athletic individual. You spend plenty of time at the gym. You're known for moving lots of weights, a great cardiovascular conditioning, even at your advanced age.
I'm 38, you old bum.
But when it comes down to it, though, I mean, again, you are still in phenomenal shape. I mean, again, many years in the ring, you still could outrun me in a race, hands down.
I got some rust on me, my friend. I got some miles on this body. So.
Well, brother, I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, when it comes down to it, tonight is going to be a great show. There is no rust when it comes to the WrestleTalk podcast. We got a lot of great information coming up. We're going to have kind of an extended high spot segment here in the first hour as well, because there's a lot of things going on in the world of pro wrestling. I mean, we have a new AEW world champion to talk about. We've got ROH final battle. We've got things going on with the WWE. We've got potential new signings in the WWE. There's a lot of things going on, and I'm going to warn those that have been watching the program and are longtime fans of the WrestleTalk podcast each and every week, to keep everything official and to make sure that we pay homage to the greatest country in the world, that being America. We're going to go ahead and pay homage. So this time, if you please remove your caps, place your hand over your heart as we pay homage to the greatest country in the world. Let's go ahead and hit that music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you as we paid homage to the greatest country in the world, and that is the good old United States of America. And I got to tell you right now, Justin, I think we really need to have a poll, and I know we can't bring it back, but we need to have a poll. Which one was better, the Carl Lewis rendition or the Roseanne rendition of the national anthem? Both of them are good. And Maestro!
Neither of them. I had to jump in when you wanted to bring that up. Neither. In fact, no, I take that back. Carl Lewis, because Roseanne is like listening to a raccoon have a brain hemorrhage. No. While scratching a chalkboard. No. No. Copyright is the only reason we play Roseanne's. Not doing it. That is all. God love you guys, but
no, love you too. One. Roseanne sounds like a raccoon and also looks like a raccoon in a dumpster. So, yeah.
Wow, this is definitely going to be one of those memorable shows here. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to chime in here, if you want to add into the discussion here this evening. Make it a point to send your messages here in the chat. Right now, I know we've had Assad send us several messages. Again, thank you, Assad, for being a loyal member of the WrestleTalk Podcast family. Along
Hey,
with Dean, thanks for sending us the message. And again, tonight, in a little over an hour, actually an hour and 5 minutes, we're going to have the Big Texan right here on the WrestleTalk.
Yeah, but it's going to go by in a flash, man, because we can fill this hour with so much going on in the world of wrestling with all the promotions that are going on right now.
Well, you know something, Justin? I know we're going to talk about it later on tonight, but I got to tell you, I've really been pretty busy in my office. I know you're very familiar with the St. Louis wrestling scene, being a long-time competitor here. Dynamo Pro Wrestling at Thanksgiving Slam, a changing of the guard, if you will, in Dynamo Pro Wrestling. And I have to say this is my job as media relations director of Dynamo Pro Wrestling. Joe Lance's favorite wrestler, the Snitch, became the Dynamo Pro Heavyweight Champion. I mean, I'll tell you right now, every time that I have gone to the office since the Snitch has won the Dynamo Pro Championship, it's either been our broadcast colleague, Jeremy Karp, or it's been Chris Rodell, or countless other members of the media team. It's almost like I have to completely answer everything for the Snitch. And it's one of those where, I mean, if you look at it, we even have an idea. I don't know if we have the graphic here or not, but he has gone as far as our December event is Merry Snitchmas.
That's got a nice little ring to it, you know. You know what? I'm like I'm digging. You know, usually snitches get stitches, but this guy's turned that whole facade around. You know, he comes out and he does his thing, and you know that belt kind of. It's always. I'm always pulling for the most competitive, and you know that Benjamin Truss. You know he carried that belt, that banner for a while, and it looks like the changing of the guard. You know, it's maybe this will be a good thing. You know, maybe the world of wrestling needs to have a little more snitch in their life, if you so to speak. So,
Justin, I have one question, and again, I'm just going to say this: what fantasy world do you live in? The Snitch made everybody's life miserable for the last 3-4 years. And now the Dynamo Pro Champion, it's even more of a headache. It's more frustration. I mean, what's next? I mean, that's all I'm going to say. We've got to talk about high spots. I'm not going to go very far. And Assad, as I say, if we can go ahead and bring up Assad's comment, this is the last time I'm going to talk about the Snitch here tonight. Let's go ahead and bring up that comment. They had the Rock Bottom pay-per-view, and now we have Mary.
Hey, yeah, fantastic Buried Alive match with Taker and Austin from that show.
Yeah, well, I got to say right now, and I'm going to put it nicely, that's the last I'm talking about the Snitch tonight. We got a lot of great things to talk about in the world of pro wrestling. Again, if you want to share your thoughts, make it a point to go ahead and send us something in the comments. If it's something we feel that is very important, or if we feel that you need to contribute in, we'll even make it a point to get every opportunity to get you here on the program tonight. I mean, again, it's one of those, we got a lot of great topics, but in order to get things started, we need to go ahead and get that great intro music set up from the one and only DJ Money to get us ready for high spots here tonight on the WrestleTalk Podcast.
Mic check. Yeah. All right. WrestleTalk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like lamb chops. We dog shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a runner speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. Like a clock flash, look like a belly flop. Now that's hard. We seen while they stay slow. WrestleTalk Podcast. Now they know we about to start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the High Spots. And, of course, we're just going to keep DJ Money going because, again, if you need any music, any kind of genre, if you need any kind of digital media, make it a point to check out DJ Money, ask a member of the WrestleTalk Podcast family, and we'll make it a point to get you the information. Whether it's posters, album covers, you name it, DJ Money is a man of all trades, and you can check him out. He's very reasonably priced as well. For more information, please make sure to contact the WrestleTalk Podcast, and we'll make it a point to put you in contact with DJ Money, the man behind the WrestleTalk Podcast High Spots segment intro. And speaking of which, Justin, we don't need to hear anymore about the introduction. We need to go ahead here. We got a lot to talk about, and I know we've got our randomizer going, but it's been kind of on the how do you say here? It's been broken, I guess would be the best way to put it. But we're going to go ahead and try our best to make sure that High Spots is going to work for us tonight. Keep your fingers crossed for those that are watching out in the wonderful world of the internet and on social media. Let's go ahead and bring up our first High Spots question of the evening. I don't know if our indicator, taking a trip here to AAA. I know a lot of people have been very familiar with Cain Velasquez, and supposedly we've heard from multiple media outlets that he has reached a verbal deal to be involved with AAA through April of 2023. Is this a wise move for AAA? Justin, I'm going to ask you your thoughts here. Coming again, like I follow MMA, you follow the career of Cain Velasquez. Here's my question: is this good for AAA?
Well, right now it is, because it's just a verbal deal. Right now, they're staying on they're staying right on the rim of this deal right now, because Velasquez, he's got some judicial proceedings going on in his life. And it's good until he can get through with that. Everyone has their day in court, and hopefully, he gets what he wants out of this. And I think if they keep it, verbal, that's fine. As soon as the dust clears, they can make it permanent. I think that he would bring this would be good for AAA, because, quite honestly, out of all the leagues, like we got WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, PWG out in California.
Right now, Justin, I believe you're still there.
You there, Rob?
Yeah, I'm here.
Everybody okay?
There we are.
He's just shocked about Cain Velasquez.
That is true. I mean,
that happens. All right.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy, for getting us going again, brother.
Oh, no problem, man.
So, anyways, Luke, as I was saying, I think it'd be good for AAA, because right now, with they need something going, because they're very popular down south. They need to get more apparent here in the States. And maybe I'm living under a rock, but only time I ever hear about AAA is stuff like this, stuff when Jeff Jarrett's doing stuff down there, because I know he had some dealings with them down there. So I think this is a good thing. Hopefully, it's a good thing in the long run, but it's good that it's a verbal deal, not written in stone yet, because we don't know what's going to happen with Cain, in the long run with his judicial issues. So,
well, I got to tell you, I'm more of the other side of the coin here. I don't think it's a good idea for AAA. It's not necessarily because of his potential judicial issues, and I agree with you. Everybody's entitled their day in court. But if you look back to the opportunity he had before, he competed, if I'm not mistaken, for one match in the WWE. One.
But how much training did he have prior to that match?
I think he had a fair amount of training, but
I think he's going to be comfortable in AAA. I think WWE was maybe too much of a shocker for him. And let me tell you, I don't care who you are. If they're like, we're going to put you in the ring with Brock, that is a kind of a shock to your system. So I think this will be good. Here's the thing. He sows his oats down in AAA, and then he can work his way back up into the States. I think this is a good thing for Cain.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, and we had the message up here earlier, and again, our good broadcast colleague, Sonny Money Mayo, and
I saw that.
Sonny, we're throwing it out there right here, making sure to represent the Sonny Money coffee meter, although this is hot chocolate, by the way. I agree with Sonny. This isn't a needle mover. I really think that there could have been some better signings. But again, only time will tell. I mean, again, it's one of those, he really doesn't have a lot of experience as far as professional wrestling matches. He's a very accomplished MMA fighter. He's very knowledgeable in the ring. Only time is going to tell. I mean, again, it's just one of those where, again, a lot of people are saying that they're really looking at the litigation side of this. But Justin, you hit it right on point in saying that this was just honestly, until there's a day in court, it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of got to sit and let the judicial system play out the way it is.
In a verbal deal, they can cut their losses if things go south for Kane. They're not going to lose any money. It might be a pay per deal, a pay per appearance. So who knows?
That is true. That is very true. Now let's go ahead real quick here. We're going to go ahead and move to our second question here. And again, if you guys have any input, any comments that you want to share about these high spots questions, make it a point to share them in the chat. We're seeing them right now. And okay, Jeremy, I thought you said you were going to have the randomizer fixed.
I did, and I wanted to pop up because I wanted to be the one to stumble upon this and ask you guys this. Okay. So, this is a breaking news. There are several media outlets out there that report that Colby Corino is finishing up with the NWA and is expected to sign with WWE. Now, if so, who benefits the most with this deal? Gentlemen, have at it.
Okay. Hey, Luke, is Colby Corino, is this Steve Corino's kid?
Yep. And he has spent a good amount of time in the wrestling industry. I mean, I do believe that he spent some time. And again, bear with me here a minute. My memory's not the best that it used to be. He did spend some time, as it said, in the NWA. I believe he spent some time in MLW. He spent time in several promotions here in the United States. He's a very seasoned wrestler. I don't know at this point. I got to be honest with you. I think without a cruiserweight division, I don't see this really benefiting anybody. Colby Corino's accomplished, but I just don't see anything for him right now. I mean, again, a lot of people have been saying in the NWA, and he's even made the comment through several different media outlets, when you put him and Homicide in the ring together, just like Steve Corino and Homicide, it always seems to leave the fans wanting more. And I don't see this being a good move for Colby Corino.
I do believe this is a good move for him because here's the thing. He's going to learn so much in NXT that, hey, if he doesn't make it to the main roster, it's a line on his resume, man. He's going to learn a lot of stuff from the old school guys. Michaels is in the NXT program, Shawn Michaels. And, he's going to learn a lot while he's down there. I think it's going to, he's not, who knows if he's going to be the next big thing on the roster, but you got to do what you can while with what you got. And I think he'll benefit the most out of this deal.
Well, I mean, again, that's one of the things we got to look at too, though, Justin, is the idea. And again, we've had a lot of people throwing out their comments here. Assad talking about seeing him with the NWA 74th anniversary. And again, in no way, shape, or form are we discrediting Colby Corino. I mean, he's a phenomenal competitor. I mean, the guy goes out there, he gives 100%. He's great inside the ring. I mean, to me personally, like I said, I would rather see him in a promotion like an MLW or an NWA or a New Japan before I think that it would benefit him to be going there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't even think at this stage in the game, I would even want to see him go to AEW before I would want to see him go to the WWE because I think there's more available for him.
Well, if he goes to AEW, he's just going to sadly get lost in the shuffle. I can go on all day about, my AEW feelings right now. But like I said, WWE, I think, will be good. Then, if it doesn't work out, then he can, go back to those promotions previously that you said, MLW and so forth. So.
Well, I mean, again, it's one of those things. We're just going to, again, much like we had in our earlier discussion, time's going to tell. But again, as you hear on the program, we're both from both sides of the coin here. I mean, again, one thing I will say, and I had an opportunity before we went live on the air to see a match online between him and Homicide. And if you haven't seen Colby Corino take on Homicide, you are missing out. I mean, Steve Corino and Homicide was good, but I would put Colby Corino and Homicide right on that same level. I mean, again, more great matchups of Corino versus Homicide. And again, if you haven't had a chance to check them out, please do so. Now, I want to send a shout out there to Jeremy with that question. At this point here, let's go ahead real quick and throw one more question up. I think we may be joined here in a little bit. We've had several people send us messages here, and we want to say thank you to all of our great viewers who've been putting comments in here.
That handsome son of a gun again.
He's back again by popular demand, Jeremy.
I know, right? I wanted to maintain some backstage privacy tonight, but you know what? This high spots, the top, what has been reported today, it just blows my mind. So, gentlemen, after messing with the randomizer, it stumbled across this. Now, in the PWI top 100 tag teams, the Usos garnered the number one spot.
Yeah.
Now, in your guys' opinion, and for the folks tuning in at home, are the Usos the best tag team in pro wrestling?
I believe so. I believe they are tearing it up in the in the WWE. They've gone through every team. They're putting teams together, and they can't get those belts off of them. Now, the rumors speculating is somewhere down the line that Sami Zayn might be leaving the bloodline, and he might align with Kevin Owens down the line to take those straps off the Usos. But right now, the Usos are the hottest team in pro wrestling. Yeah, you got FTR and AEW and with all the belts they got from Ring of Honor, New Japan, and AAA. But right now, the Usos are tearing it up. Besides tearing it up, that faction, the Bloodline, is one of the I get old school vibes every time I see the Bloodline on TV. They're running the show. Last Monday, they didn't even need Roman, and they run roughshod over the roster that was coming at them.
Well, I did see it right now, Justin, and I mean, again, this is going to be kind of a strange way to look at it. You and I had a discussion earlier on about two tag teams that are being kind of left out in the dark here. And I'm actually going to throw three teams at you.
Okay.
One I'm going to throw at you, and this is going to, again, it's going to shock a lot of the people here that I'm even bringing them up in the conversation. Number one that I'm bringing up, the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they're comedy, but their innovative offense really stands up to me as far as being the makings of a great tag team. Number two, and this is going to be one that's going to be strange to you, is the United Empire over in New Japan. Granted, they're not the tag champions right now, but they are consistently up at the top of the list in New Japan for the IWGP tag titles. To me, I think the team right now that should be number one in the rankings is a team that both you and I have had many discussions about. And that's three little letters, FTR. How many teams can say Ring of Honor World Champion, AAA World Champion, and the IWGP Tag Team champions on three different continents at the same time? Now, we can't discredit the Usos because they're the longest reigning tag team in WWE history. But to me, I look at it, and again, when I see FTR, I see the Midnight Express. When I see FTR, I see the Rock and Roll Express. When I see FTR, I see teams like Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson.
Yeah, okay. I get that.
To me, I'm not saying the Usos need to be out of the picture of being maybe in the top three, but to me, I think if you're looking at it just on ability, championships, and notoriety across the globe right now, my money's on FTR.
All right, that's fair to say, but you got to also realize too, the Usos, they're stranglehold in the WWE. They don't have that. They got that whole world marketing with the WWE, but they can't venture out. It'd be a nice little matchup, though, if we were able to get the Usos and FTR down the line. That'd be nice.
That is true. I mean, that would be a match that everybody wants to see. But you know something, too? I want to go ahead real quick, and I know Jeremy's been popping in here. He sent me a message here a couple minutes ago that I think we're going to be joined here by a special guest who's been asking to kind of pop in on this subject here. He's a pretty familiar face as of late here to the WrestleTalk podcast. And Maestro, if our guest is available, can you go ahead and bring him up? All right.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, good to see you. I'm looking younger.
Back by popular demand, Alpha right here on the WrestleTalk podcast. Now, Alpha, you and I have talked about tag team wrestling. Justin and I have had countless discussions on tag team wrestling. You heard the Maestro's question. Do the Usos belong at the number one spot in the PWI Top 100 Tag Teams?
See, this is a very loaded question only because both of your statements have relevancy, and that is that, yes, FTR is absolutely like the tag team right now as far as like, yes, they are AAA tag. Yes, they are Ring of Honor champions. Yes, they are IWGP champions. And that's not disrespecting them or disrespecting the belts, but realistically, outside of the Forbidden Door triple threat and the Briscoes match, what has FTR done with the Ring of Honor titles? What has Ring of Honor done with, or what has FTR done with the AAA titles? Like any notable matches? And if there are some, I'm looking for recommendations. And what have they done with the IWGP titles? Like, it'd be one thing if okay, well then I need to watch
the
IWGP.
IWGP.
Well, continue your thought, Alpha. I want to do the research here, and again, that's what the WrestleTalk Podcast is good for. Making sure we're up to date on the research. Go ahead and continue your thought. I'm going to go ahead and look this up and see if we can give the viewers just a little more info.
For sure. And so, but that doesn't take away from the fact that FTR as a tag team has been doing what they set out to do, which is facing other tag teams. They faced off against the Briscoes, United Empire. I'm trying to remember the team with that they had in the triple threat at Forbidden Door, but it escapes me, but it'll come back to me eventually. So it's like they're doing a good job as a tag team facing off, but also in favor of what Justin was saying is the fact that the Usos, while yes, they may not be holding 3 of every different kinds of belt, I don't really think it adds anything if they have anything outside of that, because they have, like he said, they're the longest reigning tag team of now, which is, you know, prior to this, it was the New Day, and they held on to those titles for a really long time. So if being a good enough tag team to break one of the longest records, say what you want about, you know, that they're holding on to it, or it's a lot of time just because of the whole bloodline thing, but you don't get that popular and you don't get a record like that from just being an okay tag team. So if as much as it is hard for, I think it is a bitter pill to swallow for some fans that FTR did fall second place, if they have to feel that way about it, it is to the Usos. And it's these Usos. Like it's easy to forget that both of these two have the best quality in a tag team, and that is that they haven't broken up yet. Like, how many tag teams do you know have been this long with one another without anything outside of, you know, the Cash and Dax like one-on-one they had in the preliminary round? So
well, right now, Alpha, let's go ahead here real quick, and we're going to add some information here. I went back and did our research, and again, thank you also to the great WrestleTalk Podcast media team here. Let's look at the AAA reign of FTR. They have defeated, since winning the championships, they've defeated the Lucha Brothers on 2 occasions, the Young Bucks, Aerostar and Samurai del Sol, and the team of Hermanos Lee. So that right there, I mean, again, is a pretty good statement. 5 matches in their reigns. If you go to ROH, they've actually had, let's see, they defeated the Briscoes, Young Bucks, Roppongi Vice, United Empire, Briscoes, Top Flight, Gates of Agony. And if you look at the IWGP, United Empire, Aussie Open, that's pretty much all that's there. I mean, to me, I look at it from the perspective of, and it's going to sound strange, to me, I really view that the Usos, Justin said it earlier, who's there for the Usos to compete against? To me, it's different from a Roman Reigns who has competed against just about everybody on the roster and held his own, where you have the Usos who really don't have and I know I'm going to get some flack for this one, really don't have a large amount of credible teams to go up against them for their titles.
Well, not right now. They've been going through everybody. That's the thing. They're putting teams together now because they've gone through everybody. You can't put them in the ring with Riddle and Orton. Orton's out on the shelf. You can't put – for some reason, they have shelved the New Day since Big E's been around. I don't know what the hell they're doing with that. They should be putting Kofi and Xavier out there as a team, and they would be having 5-star matches with the Usos as usual. Back at WrestleMania, they had Gable and Otis against the Usos and Orton and Riddle, and they put on a phenomenal bout. I'm getting ready to cuss. I'm getting so excited. I cuss just as good as Joe Pesci from Goodfellas, but I'm trying to keep it child friendly here. Now, something might slip down the line.
Does he have to slip in that soundbite of the sheep?
Yeah. Yeah, cheeky
hold
baby.
Hold on. I just got a message. We do have it on standby if you need it, Justin. So
Okay, cheeky baby. Camel clutch, make them humble. Anyways, it just the Usos. That's right. That's right. Now the Usos, they come from the dynasty. They come from if you remember, they come from a family of the head shrinkers, the Wild Samoans, and Pete Pete Maivia, Rocky Johnson, The Rock, all those guys. I believe the Usos deserve the spot they're in. They're not just because of name recognition, not because they're the family. They have busted their ass in the last year to be the number one tag team. And you know what? They're the number one tag team because WWE is the number one promotion in the world. Now, and for those guys, for FTR, for the Acclaimed, they are very, very, very good tag teams. But until you hit the tippy top, the WWE, you can't say you're a number one tag team. And you got the Usos there, the number one tag team.
Well, Justin, I want to throw this out here too. There's a couple teams that a lot of people have talked. You talked about Otis and Gable. You talked about the New Day. A couple more that have opportunities. You got the Brawling Brutes, who've made a statement, and one that a lot of people are surprised that really haven't made the charge yet, especially considering their time in NXT. What about Imperium? I mean, that's one of the things. You got a lot of teams. But again, it's one of those where I really think that you still look at FTR. And again, when it comes down to it, they've held the title for 400 and how many ever days. But when you start looking at all three of the titles that currently FTR is holding, they've been at least, I think in all three of them, they're pushing 200 days in one, 200 plus in a second, and over a year with the third.
And I'm just going to go out this way. We're talking about the Usos, the FTR, and the Acclaim. Well, here's this. I'm going to give this to you, Mr. Roberts. Here's the thing. If they put those three in a triple threat, it's going to be Usos all day long. For one, they have the experience. They've been together for over 10 years. They have the drive. And, you got the FTR. Hey, they're looking, Hardwood? He's looking to do his own thing. He's putting on 5-star phenomenal single bouts. So they're on the same page right now. But he's looking into the horizon and the next thing. And then you got the Acclaim, very good tag team, but they're very, very young. And you might have one of the greatest tag team wrestlers to ever play the game, with Billy Gunn being their mentor right now. With him being in the Smoking Guns and the New Age Outlaws, but they're still very, very new. Usos are number one. You got it plain and simple right there.
Well, Justin, I'm going to look at if you're playing the veteran card here, I'm going to throw it this way. Can you give the Usos the nod on that? Yeah, but you can't. I don't think that bears a lot of merit because looking back at the research, FTR 2014, Usos 2008. I mean, to me, I look at it from a perspective of, do they have the longevity? Yeah, but I think really both teams do. And it's one of those where when it comes down to it, I think it's each individual's opinion. I mean, the Alpha has his opinion. You have your opinion. I have my opinion. But one thing is for certain. When you talk about the top two teams on the bracket altogether, regardless of how things are going right now, and I know we're going to get some comments on this, and please, by all means, share them. If the Usos are not the number one team, is FTR the only logical choice to be number one?
At this point in time, yes.
Alpha?
Yes.
At this point in time, it seems that way. But just to throw this out to the people that I feel like are making a big stink out of it, we're obviously having a discussion. This is just like us debating. Yeah, of course. But to the people who are going out of their way for that kind of thing, it's think about it like this. Being a close second to the Usos is not a bad thing. I don't understand why it's oh no, it's not first place. It's okay, they were first place last year, so did they really need two in a row? Does that invalidate them as performers that they came second place to probably one of the biggest masterclasses in WWE right now as far as tag teams are concerned?
Well, you know something, Alpha? I'm going to go ahead real quick here. As we talked about it before, right here, second place this year, CAC. That's me.
Didn't you say you bought that in a gift shop in Vegas while you were there?
Oh, don't go there. Don't go
there.
Is
he showing off the CAC plaque again?
Yes. He talked about second place. I'm proud of second place.
I am too. I'll give you that one.
Hey, give me my 15 seconds here.
Okay.
But when it comes down to it, one thing, and now, Maestro, that you're here and you've put the question out there, your thoughts. We've already had a pretty solid discussion, but your thoughts. Usos number one, FTR number one, somebody else number one. What's your thought?
Everybody knows that the number one tag team right now is Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Eugene. Everybody knows.
Where's
that.
Ron Simmons to go? Damn.
Oh,
You know,
Okay.
no. I got it. His number one favorite team,
if you
Wayne
even
Gill
go
and
there.
Gilbert.
I knew it. You know what? Hey, I'm gonna tell you something right now.
We're never gonna let you live that down, Maestro.
Got him!
He's never gonna let me live it. You know what? If I die before Luke does, he's gonna be saying that in the eulogy. I'm gonna tell you this right now. You want to know the honest opinion of who I feel is the best tag team in the world right now, especially as we head into 2023. First off, if somebody comes up to me and says it's the Usos, I'm not gonna argue it in the sense of I don't think they're necessarily wrong, because the Usos are phenomenal. To do what they've done is historic in so many ways, shape, or form. Anybody can hold a title for a long time, but to hold it the way they've held it and to put on outstanding match after outstanding match after outstanding match against a variety of opponents, I will maintain that the Usos versus New Day feud is one of the greatest feuds I've ever seen in my life. Without a doubt. It started with bitterness and it ended with respect. The Brawling Brutes, I'm telling you, what they got going with the Usos is great. But the old school style that I love when it comes to tag team wrestling is why is personified with FTR.
Yep. Okay.
And I just think, and look, obviously the chemistry between actual brothers is hard to match, but you'd be hard pressed to argue with FTR as well. I go with FTR also because you look at everything that's gone on backstage in AEW. You've looked at what they've had to overcome when they were in WWE the first time. They have done extensive traveling to multiple promotions throughout the world, and they've shined in a majority of different styles of wrestling without having to revamp themselves. So to me, the Usos, extremely talented, but they haven't really had to change much because they're with just one promotion and they go where they compete against WWE teams. When you're at AEW, you can go compete against a New Japan team or a Ring of Honor team, or a Lucha Underground team. It doesn't matter. There's the forbidden door being open gives FTR a chance to show themselves a lot better than the Usos have. And that is why FTR, to me, as we head into the next year in just a few weeks, is the top tag team in the world.
Well, Jeremy, I want to throw this out here, and guys, I think we would all be in agreement here. You talk about the forbidden door. How about this one? And again, I'm just throwing it out there. I know they're not the tag champions at this point in time, but I want to throw this out here. If you were going to have the opportunity here, and actually I am going to go ahead and pull that up real quick, just so I can make sure that we have the most up-to-date information as it relates to the world of professional wrestling. Let's look at one match that really stands out to me would be a matchup, and I don't believe it's for the tag titles, but if you look at another promotion under this forbidden door, FTR versus the Commonwealth Connection of Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Doug Williams. To me, that would be another great matchup. And then we have to throw the question here, too, just as a thought, the idea of if you're going to throw a tag team together, La Rebellion of Bestia, Seis, and Mecha Wolf against FTR. If the forbidden door is open, I got to look at them from the point of view, you still got the AEW tag titles out there. You've still got the NWA tag titles out there. Maybe we visit the idea of them going to MLW. But, again, this is one of those as we look at it. Again, one thing is for certain. We're kind of pretty much evenly split on this question. But one thing we're all in agreement is you have two phenomenal tag teams. I got to say, I think speaking for all of us, the idea of tag team wrestling finally starting to make a resurgence and having several good tag teams is definitely music to everybody's ears and making us feel good inside because we all genuinely love tag team wrestling. So
I think the thing I love the most about tag team wrestling now is that even when you have teams like FTR or the Usos who are constantly winning, it doesn't make the other teams they beat look weak.
No.
And that to me is something that, and this isn't just like a WWE thing. This is something that's happened all across the world in years past, where a team that's on a hot streak for an extended period of time isn't on a hot streak because they're outstanding, but so much as because the way they're booked against their opponents is to make just the opponents look weak. Every match that I watch from the Usos or with FTR, I'm anticipating an upset.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that entices me to the edge of my seat. But when the Usos or if FTR, or even if the Young Bucks or somebody wins, it's like, wow, that, the adrenaline's kicking, and it's like, that was one hell of a match. It's hard pressed now to find truly disappointing tag teams that get a lot of promotion. I mean, come on. Now, when you go back a few months and somebody tells you, yeah, the Brawling Brutes are going to be taking on Jimmy and Jay Uso, do you really think, like, back in the Vince era, that was going to be displayed with any sort of respect or prominence? No. But Triple H puts it out there, and, tag team wrestling is fun again. There was a period where tag team wrestling, early 2000s, mid 2000s, was one of the best things. Then I feel like for a long time it just kind of died off a bit, and now
it did. There was barely any tag matches from like 2005 to like it seems like about 2010. The WWE didn't give a damn about the tag titles whatsoever.
And to add to that, there was a majority of lots of people like to talk about slapdash tag teams now. You want to go back and look at any of the WWE tag team title reigns with like Kenzo Suzuki and like Rene Dupree, I think. I can't even remember. Like,
they held it for a cup of coffee.
So many slapdash tag teams that made no sense whatsoever.
Well, I got to tell you right now, when we look at all this, I mean, again, one thing is for certain. We've talked about great wrestling tag teams. And again, not just the current ones in the PWI Top 100. We've talked about a lot of great tag teams. Now, Maestro, since you've been messing with the randomizer and since you've been here and you now pop back up on the screen, let's go ahead and see if you finally got it fixed and get us at least one more question before we get to our featured guest here this evening.
By the way, if people are looking at the screen, doesn't it look like a boy band on the left is arguing with Tenacious D on the right? By the way you and me look, Rob, and those two handsome bastards
Justin, especially with you. I'm not going to lie. You really got a Tenacious D look going.
He's got the Kyle Gass look. He's got it.
Yeah.
Let me
make my hair grows, though. I have hair.
All right. So. We got the randomizer working, and here we go. It says that popped up. Reports say that Kylie Rae has received a spot in the most recent WWE Performance Center tryouts. Now, she's got a pretty extended history in professional wrestling, and given her history, do you guys feel that she will be signed by WWE?
I'm gonna hop in real quick. I'm kind of uneducated on Kylie Rae. I've seen her a handful of times, but every time I'd see her, I'd be like, she looks like a Bailey knockoff from back in the day, and that's my ignorance. So I'm going to let you guys discuss this one because I'm kind of ignorant on this performer. I feel bad, but I'm going to let you guys rock.
Well, Justin, I'm going to tell you right now here, I mean, what you've said basically summarizes about 90% of the media when it comes to Kylie Rae. Many people are out there with the idea that she is nothing more than Bailey. But I'm going to tell you right now, does she have the ability in the ring? Yes. But do I think that her history precedes her? I think that's going to be the thing that's going to catch her. I mean, did she have a great opportunity at the first All In? Yeah, and she did very well for herself. But she had time in AEW. Was out of AEW. She had time in Impact Wrestling. She's out of Impact Wrestling. And to me, I mean, I've seen her several times. I'm very impressed with what she does in the ring. But to me, I think right now she's better suited for a lot of the other promotions. Could she be an MLW? Could she be I'll be honest with you, could we even see her in a Ring of Honor? Yes. But to me, I think right now, the AEW, WWE aspect, I don't foresee her being there. It's not for lack of effort. I just think it's the history is gonna follow her. Alpha, your thoughts?
All right. The thing is everything you said is like exactly what I was thinking, and I definitely think though that if WWE gets a shot, maybe not like a main roster debut. I feel like if they try to feed her to the fans too quick, she'll sink. But I think given her ability and given WWE as a company, I feel like they might be able to turn her into something good. That mainly just out of a sense of I'd like to see what they can do with her, not so much that I think for sure that they'll give it to her. But I don't know. I think it's more that I like the idea of it more than I actually can confirm or deny whether or not she'd make it there, especially because, like you said, she had her moment in AEW, she had her moment in Impact, and it's like, will she just stop in WWE and actually make something out of it and change her personality and her character around, or is she just going to stop for another cup of coffee before she jumps into, like, I don't know, IWGP for the women's title, or like, who knows, somewhere like Stardom possibly, like that. I guess the real question is Kylie Ray is really the one who knows what's in the future for Kylie Ray. As far as the future that I'd like to see, I'd be totally okay with her showing up in WWE. I think that would be like a fun, I don't want to say defection because it's not, WCW era anymore, but that'd be a fun like trade-off to see her, I don't know, step in the ring at least once in a WWE ring and see what comes of it.
Well, you know something, Alpha? You brought up a good point, too, in the idea of having a Kylie Ray go to a promotion like a Stardom or go to some of these other promotions. Again, prime example, Billy Starks, just making her opportunity to head over to Japan recently. I mean, again, now I think there would be a golden opportunity for her to test her abilities in the ring. And again, I want to give you props for throwing that one out there because that's one, to be honest, it kind of passed off my radar. But again, some of the best women's wrestlers in the world can be found in Stardom, as well as the old Shine promotion here in the States, and Shimmer with Dave Prazak and others. I mean, again, those would be other great avenues. Now, Maestro, I'm not going to fib to you. I know that you've been a fan of Kylie Ray for a while. I want you to look at this from a media perspective. Do you think Kylie Ray, WWE, do you think those two are a good fit?
I think it's definitely something that there's always good and there's always the possibility for good and always the possibility for bad. And right now I'm like looking at it and I'm looking at like the big picture here. And she's been in AEW, she's been in Impact Wrestling, she's in the NWA. Think about this. In 2020, she was in the top 20 of the PWI's women wrestlers. So the talent is definitely there. But when I look at the possibility of Kylie Ray joining WWE, the first thing I ask myself is, where does she fit in? Where does she fit in, whether it be in NXT or on the main roster? It'll most likely be NXT should she, get signed. But you look at the women's rosters you have now. And once again, we talked about how tag team wrestling is being revitalized. Once again, the women's wrestling is being revitalized in WWE. It took a step back for a little bit, but now it's back on track. We don't know if she would be jumped into a part of a stable, if she would be able, because of that whole thing where a lot of the media has created that Bayley knockoff. And that's not how it goes. She's a lot more than what the media perceives her to be. She's a highly talented wrestler. And I think if anything, Just watch her at Slammiversary out in, I believe it was 2020, when she was in the Gauntlet for the Gold match to become the number 1 contender for the Impact Knockouts Championship. I mean, and she joined a bunch of wrestlers. And she's been in reality TV a lot. She's in the media in multiple facets. I think she can be successful. I think she can be successful in WWE because she's already been successful in other promotions. And to get her, and honestly, that's the big 3 of American wrestling right there. When you're in Impact, AEW, and if you get signed by WWE. And the way I look at it is, it's a crapshoot. It really is. Do I think she can be successful? Absolutely. Nothing's guaranteed, though. And I feel at the very least, she should be given a shot. That's just how I look at it. Because it's not like we're talking about a wrestler who has no passion. I had this quick discussion with, and this does tie into it. You know, my friend and I were discussing about football players and other athletes who have the talent and the tangibles, but have made it clear that they don't need this game to be, successful. Well, Kylie Ray isn't like that. She made it clear how passionate she is about wrestling, and she goes out there and pours her heart and soul into it. That, to me, speaks volumes. So, all I can say is, if they sign her in WWE, I'm going to be cheering her on. So, that's what.
Well, gentlemen, right now, I mean, again, we've had a pretty good discussion here. I want to go ahead. It's not a high spots question here. We're talking about women's wrestling. I want to throw just a quick, kind of a gut check kind of thing here, and I just want to throw it at you right now. Not a big discussion, just your thoughts. If we saw this past Friday, Tegan Nox returns to SmackDown. Good thing or bad thing? Alpha, we're going to start with you.
I honestly want to give her the benefit of knowing that. I guess the short answer is I think it's a good thing. I think any potential debut or reveal of a wrestler, or even just anybody added to the roster, especially now with Triple H, is only a plus, just because whether or not she goes anywhere right now, we have the potential for a star in the future, or even like as of now as it goes. So in answering your question, yes, I think it's a plus, especially because it's SmackDown too, which is sort of the B show, even if people don't want to admit it, but it's also about, raising stars up and finding out who is stars, like with Shotzi recently, or in her match with Ronda, that, she didn't get the opportunity to win the belt, but at least now she's on a mainstream platform for people to be like, oh, okay, this chick's really cool. And I think that's, very much in her future as far as whether she stays on SmackDown or not, but she's on the main roster. So yes, I think they have potential in there.
Okay. Justin, your thoughts?
It's a good thing. There's more feet in the game now. There's a lot of fans out there for that, for Tegan. And, hopefully Triple H knows what he's doing with her and can push her in the right direction. It's good that, they brought her back to, and maybe put her in 6-man action for a while. They'll get the crowd rust off, But it's a good thing because there's a lot of fans out there for her that are happy to see her back. Let's just hope they know what to do with her.
Astro?
The way I look at it, the Raw women's roster has far exceeded the SmackDown women's roster over the past couple of months. As far as exposure, as far as what's the word I'm looking for? Prominence. And especially when it comes to their champion. We all know the whole debacle of Liv Morgan winning the title, Money in the Bank was the peak, and then from there on it went down to a valley. And then we all know the whole issue with Ronda Rousey as champion and all the criticism she's gotten. Having somebody like Tegan Nox, who's extremely talented, on SmackDown, huge for them. Once it just comes down to how are they going to fit her in. But I think it's a very good addition to have her back.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and echo the sentiment. The first thing is that it took me a minute to kind of put things together The music kind of threw me a little bit. I know it was her original music, and I get it. And again, seeing the graphic was there, but to me, I think the look is what cemented it with me. It is not a traditional wrestling look. Now, you mentioned earlier about Shotzi and the green hair. I got to tell you, when Tegan Nox came back into the ring, she did not look like a traditional wrestler. Granted, she was in street clothes. She wasn't in her wrestling attire. But there was just something about her coming in that drew the attention. It was kind of like, I think the Maestro and the Alpha were talking about earlier on. It just kind of drew the viewer to her. And I'm very, very much interested into what the future is going to hold for Tegan Nox back in WWE, and especially after all the health issues and the injuries she's had, for her to be able to come back to the WWE says volumes about her ability. Now, at this point, we've talked about high spots here. We're going to have the Big Texan on in just a few minutes. Alpha, we want to thank you for coming on the program here tonight. We may need you to come back here a little bit because I know we're going to have the Big Texan on in just a little over 15 minutes. But again, we want to thank you for coming on the program. Any final thoughts before we move on?
I just want to, it's always a pleasure to be on here. I love talking about wrestling. So to get an opportunity, even, just outside of my closet, to be able to sit here with like-minded individuals and share thoughts about, something that was kind of taboo for me because I didn't have lots of friends who watched this kind of stuff back in high school and everything. It's just a nice feeling, and thank you all. And I love being here any chance that I get. So don't you all have my number, so don't be afraid to call me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it, the Alpha right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast, giving himself. Can we give him a round of applause here just to make sure things are there? I mean, he really had some great insight tonight. And there we go, definitely well worth it for the Alpha here tonight, right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. We'll be checking in with the Alpha here later on this evening. Also, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time here, we want to go ahead and make sure to acknowledge our great sponsors. Also, if you're enjoying the program, make sure to share it with all your friends. I want to thank our great sponsors once again for keeping the WrestleTalk Podcast going. Royal Mills Transportation out of Kansas City, Rathbun Engraving. If you want to get one of those WrestleTalk Podcast mugs, make sure to hit up one of our great WrestleTalk Podcast hosts. Noble Men's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media with the Maestro Jeremy Karp, Little Popeye Designs, the ones behind those great WrestleTalk Podcast tumblers, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. I got to tell you right now, guys, this first hour has been awesome, and it's going to get even better here in just a few minutes. And again, let's go ahead real quick. We had a couple messages here which we wanted to share before we move on to our next segment here. Maestro, if you'd be so kind, the Lumberjacks joining us today. I mean, again, they're hopefully they're enjoying their holiday season here as we get ready to embark on the final month of 2022. And also, there's one other one here which I thought was really cool, and we want to give a special shout out here. We had Angela tuning into the program, and you want to give a shout out here as we sit and look at what's here. Somebody talking about the commentary, and that's one of the things that makes the WrestleTalk Podcast so exciting and so interesting each and every week. You get everybody's individual opinions. And again, it's like Alpha was talking about, being respectful, being like-minded, but having a respectful discussion about the world of professional wrestling, something we've all been a part of and we love very, very much. And speaking of which, I got to tell you right now, I have some good news and some not so good news. The not so good news is the CEO let me know before we went live on the air tonight that he has been extremely busy taking care of FWWC matters. So there will not be an FWWC segment tonight, but you need to tune in this Thursday at 7:30 because the CEO will be hosting FWWC tonight, and he will be bringing the FWWC up to speed on all the goings on in the world of the FWWC. Now, from the not so good news to the good news. And Mr. Jeremy, I hope you're ready because it's time. It's time for the one and only Snippets of Truth with our good friend, Big Daddy P. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy P here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. Now, Big Daddy, I got to tell you right now, I love your intro. I love your energy, but tonight I feel like I'm back in an ECW promo from about 1995 with what's there, man. I got to get my mind clear back up here, man. How have you been doing, good sir?
Whoa, been busy. Actually, I kind of took half a day off today. So that was a nice break. Got some rest, but already, boom. I was just at rehearsal. So we got done with Message Music, got to jam some. And now I'm in between that and one of my clients. I also publish books too. And one of my clients has got a book that she just got in the mail today. So we're going to go see her and get excited and fire up for her. And all is well, brother. And hey, I'm excited, man. I got my wife. I think I mentioned last week, but for those of you that missed it, I did get tickets to Raw January 2nd in Nashville, Bridgestone Arena. It's been a long time. Mrs. Hartman has never been to a wrestling show, at least a WWE one. She's been to our little ones in Middle Tennessee, but she's never seen that production. So that bit of silence that you get, she's going to freak out because on TV you don't get it, you know.
That is true. And like I said, I know for a fact, too, you were talking about January 2nd. If I'm not mistaken, SmackDown is coming back to the St. Louis area right around St. Patrick's Day for those that are viewing the program here in the St. Louis area. And I got to tell you, Big Daddy P, I know for a fact there's just a few tickets still remaining for Raw, that first Raw of the year. You know, to me, I think
it's after day one. Day one is the night before.
Like I said, I think other than the day after WrestleMania, to me, it always seems like everything in that first week of wrestling, it seems like everything restarts, at least to a fair degree with me. So
I mean, they're like a year ahead of us in planning. True. So, I mean, they're already finished with WrestleMania Hollywood.
That is true. That is true.
So they're already moving on to the next one after that, right? Which is what? Where's that at?
Oh, yeah.
I think they said that the next WrestleMania is in Philly. Am I right with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I gotta
in St. Louis, unfortunately.
I wish you would come to St. Louis, but here is one thing, and I don't know if we talked about this last week or not. I keep hearing rumors that after Philly, I keep hearing rumors that the Music City might be getting a WrestleMania.
Heck, no way. Where would they put it?
I've heard that. And a lot of people, from what I've heard, that, and I'm going to be perfectly upfront, is primarily based on, and this is going to sound strange, it was based on the amount of draw that TNA has had in the past and the amount of interest from Ric Flair's last match.
Yeah, but Nissan Stadium can't hold WrestleMania.
Well, we know for a fact in the past that smaller venues have. And you also got to look at it from the perspective you've got floor seating. I mean, it's possible.
Can you fit over 100,000 in Nissan Stadium?
We go back.
No, but I don't think you're gonna. At this point, I don't think. And honestly, I'm gonna back out soon because I want to give you, my dear friend, more of the floor and more of the screen. But I want to say I don't think that they're gonna try to go for 100,000 every single year. They know that when they go to certain big stadiums like Jerry's World in Dallas, obviously they're gonna go for as big as they can get. But I think there's so much great history of wrestling in Tennessee. I think the city is experiencing an economic boom. And with everything going on regarding the stadium, I could see them hosting a WrestleMania there. So, with that, my dear friend, Big Daddy, I'll be praying for you. I will see you guys soon, and I'll be backstage. So,
all righty, well, Maestro heading back here now. Real quick before we move on, Justin, I know you're kind of a WrestleMania person.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, because I remember one that's sticking in my head. We were talking about the idea of being in a 100-seat venue. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it like Seattle, Toronto? We're drawing about 60,000.
They had it at Safeco right when it opened up in 2003, WrestleMania 19.
And it was about 60,000? Yeah,
67, close to 70.
So I mean, again, it's still within the realm of possibility. But I mean, again, it would. I mean, as the Maestro was talking about earlier, for us in the Midwest, it's probably going to be about as close as we're going to get to a WrestleMania in the foreseeable future. I'll tell you one thing: if that's the case, I got lots of family in Tennessee. I got no problem getting in the car and driving down. Who knows? I might stay at Big Daddy P's house.
Come on.
We can take care of that and get ready to rock and roll. Now, Big Daddy P, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you for a minute, but I'm going to level with you. And I was talking with Justin about this earlier today. We really haven't had a lot of messages this week. I know I'm waiting here just to double check. I know the Maestro's checking on that as well as our broadcast colleague Chris Rodell. But I'm going to level with you, and I know Justin's got a little too, but I'm gonna be kind of stepping out here, kind of stepping outside the world of Luke Roberts here for a minute. For many that know me, and Justin and I have been friends for the better part of 15 years. Right now, this time of year is really rough on my family. First one, to be honest with you, my wife and I have had a lot of bad things happen this time of year. Several years ago, we lost both of our daughters in pregnancy. As Justin knows, my mother was born in late December. She passed away a number of years ago. And to be honest with you, a lot of the holidays are not just rough on myself, but there's a lot of people that the holidays can be very, very tough on. And I'm going to tell you right now, speaking for myself here, the holidays have really kind of hit me hard this year. And I just wanted to extend that there because there's a lot of people who are suffering and having to deal with things. And it's just something that's been on my mind and on my heart this last few days.
Which that's exactly the reason why we're here, bro. That's the whole purpose of why God saw it fit. There are people who are driving home right now who think that they're going to get home to their families, but they're going face to face with him. Their work is done. So we're thankful and we're lucky to be where we are today simply because the fact that we could be anywhere at the moment, but God chose us to be here. So if there is anybody listening that is discouraged during this time, and Luke, let me tell you, bro, God knows your pain. He understands it, and he's going to provide comfort in ways that you've never, I'm just telling you, because fortunately, I haven't been through any situations during the holidays, but through the other times is where I've experienced it. And so this is a very happy time for me because it gives me a chance to put my attention on my family, the ones that are here. You know, I've got 10 daughters total. Okay. And not all of them are young. Many have children already. Some live out of state. But in the end, if I can see 3, if I can see 1, if I can see 5, I'll take whatever I can get because I know that tomorrow's not promised. And we always know that if yesterday is history and tomorrow's a mystery, what's today called? It's the present. And it is a gift. So continue to be thankful. And in those times, Luke, that you're feeling down, bro, message me, call me, whatever. Reach out to me and we can talk. And just know that I'm always here, man.
And again, Perry, I thank you for that. I mean, again, when you sit down and look at it, I mean, again, there's a lot of people who deal with things each and every day. And that's why the WrestleTalk Podcast is so important, is because we take time to look at the world of professional wrestling. But we also take an opportunity to look at a lot of times the bigger picture of things. And we have the opportunity to discuss some issues. And like I said, I know Justin and I talked about it, and there's been a lot of things that have really been on my family's mind as of late, and just to be able to kind of vent how I'm feeling. I mean, normally I'm usually a pretty bubbly person, but the last few days has been kind of rough. And again, I'm thankful to my WrestleTalk family for being there for me. And like I said, Justin, do you have anything else we want to add before we turn things over to Big Daddy?
No, I just appreciate these. I appreciate you guys, and I'm ready for the snippets of truth here. So,
all right. Well, Big Daddy P, now that we've got the music, now that we've gotten a little bit of the message, and now that we've got the camera stabilized so I don't feel like I'm going to throw up, let's go ahead and we're going to pass things back. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot, Big Daddy. So at this point, we're going to turn things over to the one, the only Big Daddy P for the snippets of truth for this week.
As I think about some of the things that God has laid on my heart, one of the biggest topics lately has been about fruit. And I don't know about you, but there's nothing more disappointing than getting an orange and you're like, oh, this is going to be so good. You open it up and you take a bite and it just doesn't taste like you expected. The one thing about the Holy Spirit, if you don't know, is that it is very alive and powerful. And as a fruit, see, people don't realize that peace and joy, it's a fruit. It isn't something that's just given to us. It's something that takes time. And a lot of people, if they don't know where they're going, like, I don't know about you, but GPS, if I'm driving and I don't know where I'm going and I get lost, I get nervous. So that's why a lot of people are nervous today, because they don't know where they're going, because they've been told that you got to work for it, that you got to earn it. The fact is, God says salvation is a gift. So because it's a gift, it's not something you can work for. So I want to encourage those today that are working really hard to try and impress a perfect God. Don't waste your time. He knows you. He loves you. He loves you just the way you are, because he made you that way. And you are where you are simply because that's where he wants you to be. And I do apologize for all the moviness. I'm inside of a car, but I did find a gas station, so there was light. Otherwise, we would have been in darkness. And really, I don't want to be in the dark. And I don't think that anybody wants to be in the dark today. This world in itself does have a lot of hate and a lot of anger. But let me tell you, you can be the difference. You can be the one to be an encouragement for somebody, whether if it's a kind word, sometimes even a smile, not even that. I can sometimes look at somebody and see they're hurting. And I don't have to say, are you okay? Because I know they're not. We need to be real. We have to become transparent to those around us, because if we act like we have it all together, we don't. I don't have my life all together. I got all kinds of issues. But I know who holds the future. I know that no matter what happens to me, one of two things are going to happen. I'm going to make it through this interview, or Christ comes back. Either way, I win. And you will too. So in the situation you're in now, whether it's financial, especially because of Christmas, it gets really difficult. Can you imagine having to shop for 10 daughters and 8 grandbabies? Okay, but God's faithful. Thank God for Dollar Tree. But anyway, I love you guys. I hope that these words were encouraging to you. If you have any questions or have any concerns or fears or want to talk about the Lord or what the Bible says, reach out. 931-304-1359. Perry at paintersdream.com. Big Daddy P on Facebook. Perry Hartman on Facebook. Perry Hartman on Twitter. Perry Hartman on TikTok. Perry Hartman. It's an addiction. Well, let's continue to be addicted and continue to love one another.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here. Big Daddy P joining us on the program, bringing us the snippets of truth. And Perry, I got to tell you right now, man, we're getting close to the end of the year. And one of the things I look for each and every week, just to kind of give that extra bit of information, that extra push forward to make sure that we do the best that we can each and every day, is right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. And like I said, man, I'm going to make it a point before too much longer with all my family in the greater Pigeon Forge and the Nashville area. I've got to make it a point sooner rather than later. We have got to meet up and hang out and enjoy just the time together, because like I said, man, it's always a pleasure. But again, it'd be much better to be able to be in person once in a while in addition to every Tuesday night.
Well, I wish that all of you guys were at the same location, because if you were, we would make a trip out there. Like I talked about coming to Kansas City, but not everybody's in Kansas City.
Well, that's true. I mean, you know what you could do? You could manage to make it coming again. You got a lot of the a lot of the core here in the greater St. Louis area, in the St. Louis metro area. Maybe we can get the Night Owl and Sonny Money to make the journey in.
Let's do it.
And we can make sure that we can get Nightmare Jones and Haas can join you. They can meet up about halfway, and then you guys can all road trip, and then we can all road trip, and Justin can get here, and we'll have a great old time. But until then, we're going to have a great time every Tuesday with Big Daddy P right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. Perry, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to
man.
Next week.
Love you guys. Have an awesome day.
Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Keep looking up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Big Daddy P and the Snippets of Truth. And you know something?
He's a good man.
He is a very good man, a very wise man too. And before we get too much farther along, I know our second hour guest is here, but I want to have, and I know the Maestro's backstage. Maestro, there was a message from our good friend Aaron way up here about an hour ago. And I want to give a shout out to Aaron because Aaron is a loyal member of the WrestleTalk Podcast family. And can you go ahead and pull it up here? I can't wait for the Big Texan to be on the show. You know something, Aaron? I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to level with you. I can't wait for the Big Texan to be on the show. I know that Justin Wade can't wait for the Big Texan to be on the show because the Big Texan is doing big things, no pun intended, here in the St. Louis area. And this coming Saturday night at the East Carondelet Community Center, he gets his opportunity to challenge for the biggest prize in SICW, the SICW Classic Championship. And at this time, it's my honor and privilege to welcome a man that I've known for many, many years, just like Justin has, a man that we've known for many, many years, getting ready to take the biggest step in his professional career this Saturday night. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast, the one, the only, the Big Texan.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, man?
Man, I haven't seen you in forever.
I know, brother. It's good seeing you, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, man.
I don't know how we can follow what was just on because that guy that was just on, he spoke from the heart. So I don't know how we can even go forward from that. I mean, that was awesome.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Texan, and again, I don't know what I should call you. Should I call you Mr. Texan? Should I call you Big Texan? I don't know. I've called you so many different names over the course of your career. But all kidding aside, I mean, you've been around pro wrestling a long time. And for those that don't know a lot about the Big Texan, can you share a little bit about what drew you to professional wrestling?
I get asked all the time, but it was actually my father that drew me to wrestling. So my father, he was a steel bender, and so he had arms like Hulk Hogan, and he had the haircut of Hulk Hogan too. So bald on top, long on the sides and the back. So when I was younger, he was my Hulk Hogan. And, we watched Wrestling at the Chase together. Of course, it was the reruns for me, but watched WWF at the time. Always that was our bonding. So his love of wrestling made me have a love of wrestling.
That's one thing I got to say, and all three of us have had the conversation in the past. It's something about our dads or our older brothers, if we have them, that really was the draw to bring us to professional wrestling. I mean, I remember many a time you talk about the watching Wrestling at the Chase. For me, it was Georgia Championship Wrestling and watching my grandmother and my dad sit in the recliners in Southern Missouri. Had to be ready to go at 5:05. If dinner wasn't ready at 5:05, everything was messed up. And I mean, again, it's just one of those things where family has that really great bond to professional wrestling. Now, my next question is this. I know that you follow professional wrestling. Your dad was a huge influence. But what convinced you, after all those years of watching professional wrestling, what convinced you to make the decision to step inside the famed squared circle?
So, for the longest time, I used to run a Valvoline instant oil change, one of those quick lubes. And there was a local wrestler that actually came in, and we changed his oil. And he actually looked at me and he goes, "You should be a professional wrestler." And I was like, I would love to be a professional wrestler. You know, I was probably 18, maybe 19 at the time, because Vavlin actually threw me the keys to a store. I wasn't even 18 when I was running my own.
Oh, wow.
I was still in high school when I was running my own Vavlin, which is just beyond words there. So I was 18, 19 when this guy came in, and he talked to me about it, said that he can get me in. And I met up with him one day, and it was actually, he brought us to, well, there's a long story behind it, but eventually we landed at South Broadway. I'll tell you, he actually, it's a funny story. I might as well tell it. So this guy, I haven't seen him since, and I heard some bad things happen in his life that is no longer, he's no longer in the area. But so when he first got us going, because there was a group of people that he actually tried to get his own thing going with, and it was at the local YMCA that he was teaching us. So we were doing back bumps on gymnasium floors.
Oh, God.
You know, it was just a wrestling, it was just a wrestling mat, you know, like a
Gymnasium,
high school wrestling. Yeah, it was just a little mat, and we were taking bumps on that on the floor. And we did that for a while, and then his checks was bouncing at the YMCA. So the YMCA said, "No, you guys aren't welcome no more." So then we found our way to Broadway, South Broadway, MMWA. You know, the old school where they had the separate building for the training and then the separate building for the show. So we were at the training building, and I don't know how he had access to it, because I found out later that no one really liked this guy. But I got to give him props because he got me the foot in the door. But so when we were at his training at Broadway once, little Toting Costa came in. God bless his soul. But he came in, looked at all of us, and said, "Get the hell out of my gym."
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I've actually been kicked out of Broadway like 4 times. I've just been resilient. And it's just, you're not a true MMWA wrestler if you haven't been kicked out a few times from that place.
That is true. And I got to agree with you. I mean, again, there's been, I'd have to say, I think mine was 3. So I wasn't as many as yours, but I know that feeling. But I mean, again, I got to tell you right now, first of all, Maestro, I want to go ahead and throw this up because it's a name I know Big Texan's familiar with. We just got a message from longtime fan Larry Wolf, a man who's known throughout the greater St. Louis area. And I wanted to share this with you, the Big Texan, king of the chops. I just felt that was needed to be shared right here for you, Texan, just to kind of show you what's going on here tonight as a part of the podcast. Now,
well, that's awesome. Thank you, Larry.
Well, I got to ask you this one question. I'm going to turn things over to Justin.
Sure.
I got to ask you, when it comes down to it, you've been in a lot of professional wrestling. Justin has been. I have been. We've been around this area for a long time. My personal opinion, when it comes down to a pro wrestling ring, if you're going to learn the place where you're going to suffer the most pain, but you're going to learn the most, to me, was always the Broadway training ring. That thing, it was like you said, landing on a piece of parquet floor each and every time. And I mean, if you didn't do what you needed to do, you were going to be banged up, bruised up, broken down in no time at all.
Well, I tell you, that ring has been broken down so many times, and it's been Band-Aid put back together so many times. So, I mean, I remember landing where you thought should have been wood, and it was a jack, hitting the ropes, and the ropes break. I mean, that ring that they had in that practice gym, I mean, like I said, it was duct taped together. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have had it any other way, because currently I'm sitting at the Ace Academy. Cowboy Bob Orton, his academy in East Carondelet. And I tell you, the ring that they're practicing on right now, is light and day compared to what we had it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you right now, too, though, I mean, again, that's an opportunity. We're going to talk about that a little more in a bit here. But like I said, I mean, from where you came from to where you are now, I mean, again, I've had the opportunity to see you in countless promotions, and you're always evolving. You're always stepping up your game. And that's what the mark of a true in-ring professional. Now, Justin, you, just like myself, are no stranger to the Big Texan. But I'm going to throw things over to you because I know you've got some questions to ask the Big Texan here tonight, right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast.
Yeah, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, I can't complain, really.
Yeah.
Been going great.
So, when we first met, man, were you new to the business when we met back at Broadway?
I was probably a couple years, maybe 3, maybe 4 years tops.
All right. So what I got on my mind, man, is how has it been working under Mr. Herb Simmons? How's that been since you've been with him?
I hate to use the expression night and day, but I've been around the block, so I've worked for some promoters that would lie to get you there. Yeah. So you wrestle for them, and then the old saying, hot dog and a handshake was your payoff. God. Yeah. So, I mean,
I know that. Yeah.
You go to, drive 2 hours away and you talked about the money that you were supposed to make that night, but that money never happened and the promoter leaves before the end of the show. Yeah. So it's like night and day. You got Herb Simmons that has been around in the business, I believe it's almost 50 years now. So you're going to be treated right. You're going to get paid what you're worth. I mean, I hate to say it, it's night and day compared to all the other promoters that I've worked for.
Yeah, and with the exposure, you're also getting the experience, right? Yeah, working under Herb.
Yeah, so Herb has got our TV program that he does every Sunday, and that airs on YouTube, Facebook. If you got a Roku TV, just search SICW Wrestling. So yeah, I mean, there's, my Facebook, it gets lit up all the time with people, trying to add me as a friend, and they're from different countries or different states, and it's just because they see the TV show that Herb produces. So I mean, yeah, it's great exposure. I mean, a group of us went down to Vegas this year for the CAC.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I tell you, walking into that place with Herb, it's like you're walking in with Godfather himself, because everybody is going to stop and talk to Herb, and you're able to have those conversations with those guys too. So like being around Herb rubs off on you, a little bit,
It's kind of like, I always kind of felt like Herb. I've only had a couple conversations with him, but I always kind of got that Sam Munchnick type feel off of him.
I mean, that's who he learned from. So it was Sam and Larry. God
bless his soul.
Right, both of them. But Larry, you can't say much. You can't say a negative thing about Larry. Larry's been like a godsend. When he and Herb was first here, when I first came aboard for SICW, and you had Larry in the back, telling you the good, the bad. And this guy's been around and, worked for the WWF, worked for Wrestling at the Chase. So his word is like gospel.
Yeah.
So having that in the locker room for that long period of time that we had, I mean, you couldn't get any better than that.
No. Rob?
Well, I got to tell you right now, Texan, you hit on the point about the Cauliflower Alley Club this past year. And I got to tell you, one of the things I thought was the coolest thing, and again, being able to be around such people like yourself, like Bobby D, like Gary Jackson, like Herb Simmons, like Tom Simon, Steve Murphy. I mean, there were countless people from the St. Louis area that were in attendance this year at the CAC. One thing I want to ask you is this. I mean, again, it was your first time attending the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. Hopefully not the last. I think we're all in agreement on that.
In agreement.
Yeah. My question to you is this. What would you say was your biggest memory from this year's CAC?
Man, I tell you, it wasn't the sleep because I didn't get any.
That's the truth.
Right. It's just making the connections, really. Being one-on-one with Conan, having that 5 minutes with Bradshaw. The president of the CAC, we got to talk and mingle with him. We sat at Herb's table, and like I said, when you're sitting at Herb's table, everyone's going to stop by. So Medusa stopped by, Rey Mysterio stopped by. They all knew Herb, So I mean, just being able to rub elbows with everyone, Tommy Rich, the Rock and Roll Express. Speaking of that, how they do that title belt and they do the little things as giveaways. I won that turnbuckle pad that had Tommy Rich's autographs, Rock and Roll Express's autograph on it. So I mean, the whole 3 days was a highlight. There wasn't.
You were talking about too, Brian Blair, Truth Be Told, available in most forms of media, and also you can get it on Amazon.com. Again, love for a good friend Brian Blair. But now, one thing I got to tell you, and again, for those that aren't members of the CNC, and Justin and I have talked about this for years, one of the things that stood out to me was the speeches and hearing the award winners being presented. And again, you and I were sitting, a table apart from one another? I think that's about how far we were. Being able to sit there, and you mentioned earlier on, of literally having, I could reach right now, you can see me on camera, right here or right here. I could actually shake the hand, and I did, of Conan and Rey Mysterio. They were that close to me and being able to talk about professional wrestling. That was without question one of the coolest things. But I do want to change up real quick here. There were a lot of key presentations, a lot of great speakers, a lot of great people that won awards. Did any one of them stand out to you?
Well, so the whole Jeff Jarrett presentation to his grandmother, that really stood out to me because I actually learned more about her, because I knew his father was a big promoter. There you go. I knew his father was a big promoter in Memphis, eventually his father in Lawler, but I didn't know that his grandmother is one that actually started that. So that whole story about how she got to be, started as a ticket sales, a ticket person, all the way up to being like the right-hand man of that promoter, and then starting off and breaking off and doing her whole thing, and then her son taking up with it, Jerry. I mean, that. Plus, I met Jeff Jarrett at Broadway. Him and Bischoff came and did their podcast, and we got to spend some time together and talking and bullshitting. So, are we allowed to cuss on here? I don't know if
that's not a problem. We're good to go right here on this text.
Yeah,
well, like I said, Justin's already had us use the Iron Sheik sounder 3 times already tonight, so we're good.
Nice.
Now,
all right. So just having that connection with Jeff Jarrett already, and then seeing him, talk about his grandmother and the way he did. I mean, that was probably but also the whole Conan thing. Because Conan, he doesn't, he's not looking really good right now. His health is down. But when he was there, he was in high spirits. He was smiling. He was like, you can tell that he was overwhelmed by winning that award that he got. But his health isn't good. So it was just great to see him in high spirits.
Well, one that stands out here, and I've told Justin about it, we're hopefully going to be able to kind of give a recap down the road. I know you had an opportunity to hear the one that stands out to me was Jerry Lawler's speech and the story about the locker room and getting in trouble with Teeny Jarrett. We're going to have to share that at a later point in time because that's definitely going to push the line. But, again, definitely one of those to remember. But
yeah.
like I said, again, if you've not joined the CAC, you definitely need to do it. It's definitely worth your time. It's definitely
And
worth it.
What's great about the CAC is you don't have to be a wrestler or official or anything. You can just be a fan who loves wrestling. And, that yearly fee, or if you do, the yearly fee is what, $25? It's
$25
really
right now, yeah.
not much at all. The lifetime is $300, and they use that money for a good cause. So if any wrestler's sick, injured, hurt, or just down on their luck, they use that money to help support them. Like Barry Windham right now. Man. He's in the ICU. So, I'm sure if one of his family members, I know they got to GoFundMe, but I'm sure they reach to the CAC, they'll step in and help.
Most definitely. And I mean, again, there's one I remember hearing the story. I think it was about Kamala, and he fell on some hard times because of his disabilities before he passed. And it's one of those where they were able to get him some medical assistance and some communication assistance. And that's one thing that's, like you said, Texan, it's great about the CAC is they care about those who have paved the way for professional wrestling. Now,
right.
I'm going to have to address the elephant in the room. And you and I have been friends for a long time, but I do need to address this Saturday night.
Of course.
And that is, you got a chance, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to probably the historian or one of the historians of SICW, that being Dr. Drew Abenhouse. I don't recall anybody who's been in your position come this Saturday the opportunity to be possibly, by the end of the night, holding 2 major titles in SICW.
Right.
Now, before I go into my discussions, I know you've got some pretty heated feelings about one Attila Khan. But my question is, what an opportunity to see you compete with your tag team championship partner, a man that all of us are very familiar with, Gary Jackson. I got to ask you, how does that tag team come together? Because you both are very accomplished singles wrestlers, but what drew you together as a tag team?
I think it's just the history that we had. Gary is one that actually helped train me. Yeah. Here in our locker room, we call him the vampire because, he looks exactly how he did 25 years ago, just that history, him helping me being trained. I've been on the opposite end of the ring with him, going against him. I've been in tag matches with him. And I think we just have that bond because, I've done a couple podcasts myself. And, Gary was always one of the first ones that I had, as a guest, just because the respect that I have for Gary. And knowing you can just sit back and talk to Gary and just actually not talk to Gary. You can just sit back and listen to Gary, tell his stories about where he's been, who he's worked for, because there isn't a major company that Gary hasn't worked for. Yep. He's worked for the WWF. He's worked for WCW. He was in the Kansas City promotion. He was in the Memphis promotion with Jerry Jarrett, he's been everywhere. And for him to tell those stories and for those stories to rub off, as a rookie, you always want to go to everywhere, but you always want to bring your stuff with you, your bag. Just because you're going there as a fan doesn't mean you won't be put on that card, and that's the stuff that you can get from Gary because he'll tell you, he'll go everywhere to this day. Even if he's going on a vacation and happens to be a local wrestling show going on, he will stop and watch. And you never know, he might actually be on that card because he brought his gear with him. And just this past weekend, me and my wife went with a friend to go watch a wrestling show. And we drove 2 hours away. And I was like, I'm going to bring my gear with me just in case, But they didn't end up using me. But it's those small things that you learn from everyone traveling down the road with them that you take in, and then you like today. So again, I'm at the training facility for Bob, helping him train the new stars. And it's those little stories that I've heard that I can give to them. So it's just passing it on down. But again, Gary Jackson, a mentor, a friend. There's been many nights in our hotels room, or either my hotel room or his hotel room, where we get a 12-pack of beer and just sit and talk and drink.
It's a 12-pack?
Yeah. Okay, Justin. We're just going to kind of leave
I'm
it
sorry,
there.
I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm not. I'm kidding.
well, Justin, we all three could tell. We could spend like the next 3 episodes telling Gary Jackson stories. But I'm going to ask you right now here, and Texan, thank you for sharing that. Justin, do you have any stories about yourself and Gary Jackson? I know you've had a few encounters with him.
All my encounters with Gary have been good. He's always been fair to me. And even when I was starting out, he always made me feel like I was one of the boys. He didn't treat me like how some of the, I don't know if you guys have ever encountered when you got into the business, you come across a veteran who just didn't want to give you the time of day, or they were intimidated that you might take their spot. I was just in awe and respectful as best as I could. And Gary and to this day, he was always fair to me. Even like if I, hadn't been around him in a couple of years, it was like, we went from where we left off, and he's always been. I think he's got that among the whole community in the St. Louis region, that respect. He's just good to people. So
yeah, and I'm going to echo that exact same sentiment. Had an opportunity, as Texan told you, both him and myself and several others were at the CAC, and I've known Gary pretty much my entire career. The man is going to wrestle until he's 90. He is just that phenomenal. But the opportunity was, I made a mistake, and I'm not going to fib, and you know where it was, Texans. We talked about it. I was the one that made it a point when I went to my conference that booked an extremely early flight to come back to St. Louis. I'm talking, I had to be at the airport at like 3 a.m. Wow.
Yeah.
No. You understand, Justin. We didn't get done in Texan. I think that particular night, we can share that. I think you were done at like what? 1:30? And that's generous.
Yeah,
again, there was no sleep time.
No.
And I'm there, and I'm trying to figure out how to get basically across Las Vegas. And during the dinner on Wednesday night, I had an opportunity to talk to Gary Jackson. And he gave me some insight regarding the easiest way to get from the event to the airport, which used to be McCarran Airport. I think it's called Harry Reid Airport. And like I said, I got there at about 4:30, 4:45, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm here, I'm good, everything's good to go. And I look, and 3 seats down from me, already ready to rock and roll, is the Night Train Gary Jackson. And we're sitting there, and we talked for close to an hour. And like you said, Justin, it's just like old times. The man knows so much just sitting and talking. I mean, not even just about wrestling, talking about life in general. The stories that he can share. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to sit down and just talk with Gary Jackson, you are missing out on a lifetime of opportunity.
Just tells you what type of person and worker he is. When Larry brought out the Wrestling at the Chase book years ago, I don't know if you guys remember that book. I have it. He makes reference to Gary in one of the chapters regarding Flair and Harley wrestling at the Checkerdome. He gives the card, and he could have filled that story with anybody, and he still gave a nod to Gary. That's how I'm stuttering John Melendez here. That's how revered that Gary is. People just, he's a legend in the St. Louis wrestling community.
That he is.
Yeah. Well, now we do have to talk about it. This Saturday night, you and Attila Khan, 2 men who are no strangers to one another. I have to say, if there are 2, maybe 3 true polarizing figures in a locker room, Attila Khan's one of them. Gary Jackson is one that people know. And I got to say the Big Texan is one of those. But this coming Saturday night at East Carondelet, you have to take on a man. And Texan, you and I have been friends for a long time. We've been in countless promotions together. We've been in many rings together. Thankfully, I've been in the stripes and all of them because you break me like a toothpick.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, I gotta ask you, how do you go into a match with someone who, I mean, I'm just going to give you some words here: vile, sadistic, cruel, calculating. How do you go into a matchup with somebody? I mean, again, guys like Gary Jackson, like Flash Flanagan, like Pete Madden. I mean, Pete Madden's been through everything, and he was left a bloody mess. I remember, I believe it was Volatile Curse Wild was a bloody mess, among others. How do you prepare for a matchup for the Classic Wrestling Championship with somebody who's just, as I'll be honest, as sick as Attila Khan?
I mean, it's a fair question, and I want to strongly say that he's evil, and it's not like he just turned evil. Attila was born evil. I mean, he's bloodied everyone, just about everyone that he's been in the ring with. I mean, he just got back from having a steel cage match with Ku and the Barbarian, and Sheik Prater was in there, and all four of those guys were bloodied and bruised. And the thing is, I've been in the ring with Attila. The title's never been on the line. Whether there was me and Bobby D went against Attila and Sheik Prater before. I've been in other tag matches where I've been in with Attila. You know, on my Facebook, you can look it up. It's one of my main pictures at the top of the page. I've got Attila, and I'm actually biting his forehead, and Attila's bleeding. And I'm biting his forehead because I'm just anything I can do to get. And this was just a tag match, but we were trading. Like, this is going to get me fired up.
Do it.
You know, but let me just say, you guys, whoever wants to see a true wrestling, I don't even want to say it's a true wrestling match because I know it's going to be a brawl. If you guys want to have a good time, you show up this Saturday in East Carondelet, SICW, because I tell you, I'm going to put everything, every ounce of sweat and tear and everything into this match. Because I've like I said, I've stepped in rings with him, and I know that I got to look for everything, because you never know who's going to come around through the curtain to help him, or his manager, Stephen E., you know, if he's going to help him, or if he's going to whip out some fork and use that. I mean, there's so many things that I got to look for, and I got to look for them all and actually look at Attila across the ring and wrestle this guy. So
I got to throw this one at you too, though. I mean, again, you talk about Devastation Incorporated, you talk about Stephen E., you talk about Sheik Prater, you talk about Joe Helms. I mean, again, it seems like he just keeps stacking the deck and stacking the deck. And again, the one thing I do have to say, actually, I'm going to say two things here. One is the idea you've got Gary Jackson in your corner. I'm going to say this point blank. I think there's a lot of people in the SICW locker room that have your back come this Saturday night if Devastation Incorporated pulls something forward. But go ahead.
I mean, that's true, because, you know, if you caught the TV taping this past Sunday, I was going on with one of Stephen E.'s new hires, and I thought I had him where I was going to give him my lariat, and then Sheik Prater came out. You know, but the great thing is they tried to double team me, and I ended up doing a double lariat on him. You know, and Joe Helms, I got the best of Joe Helms twice now. So I've taken out Joe Helms. I've taken out Sheik Prater. I've gone through his little minions. So now it's time for me to go through to the big dog. And, you know, like you said, you guys known me for forever and a day. I've won plenty of tag straps. I've won some heavyweight titles. This title has always allured me. You know, I had a crack at it a couple months ago when Flash Flanagan had it. And it was a great match, but guess who interfered in it? Attila Khan. So he actually cost me my chance at that belt before. So now I'm going to take that belt off of him. That's my whole goal Saturday night. It's just to take that belt. And if I leave him in a bloody mess in the middle of the ring, that's just cherry on top.
Well, I gotta ask you one thing. I mean, you're at the Ace Wrestling Academy. You've been preparing very well. I have to ask you, and again, I know a great wrestler doesn't tell his strategies, but my question is, how do you prepare differently for a matchup with someone the likes of Attila Khan?
I love to do in the training. I love to do where we have like 15 people and they're all around the ring. And then there's one person in the middle, and that one person in the middle, any of those people around that ring can tag in, and you got to defend yourself against all of them. And Justin, just as well as me, is anyone in that ring is going to work differently totally than the next person. So if you're that guy in the middle, and then all of a sudden you got to take on 15 different people working 15 different styles, that's the best experience you can have. And we got some big brutes in our training facility. We got some very new rookies. We got some skinny, some tall, some big, some short. We got them all. And I tell you, the man in the middle is the best experience you can have. The only difference is they don't have a knife or fork that they're coming for me with. So that's what I'm going to have to be looking for. Just always looking behind my shoulder, always looking for the shiny object in his hand. But I'm preparing myself.
Well, I got to tell you right now, Texan, we're going to change things up. I know you're getting fired up. I mean, your match is just a few days away. And like I said, who knows? By the end of this weekend, we could be saying one half of the SICW Tag Team Champions and the Classic Wrestling Champion. And then again, that's going to be an interesting 2023 for sure. But I think it's also going to be an interesting conversation with one Gary Jackson as well. I mean, he is a former champion as well in countless different promotions. But before we let you go, I know you're ready for a very grueling match this weekend. What I want to do is this. As a part of the WrestleTalk Podcast, every week we have what's called the world-famous WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge. It's an opportunity for you, a man with a wealth of wrestling knowledge, to take on one of our hosts, and it won't be Luke Roberts, and it won't be the Maestro Jeremy Carpenter, on a particular wrestling topic. Would you be willing to take part in this wrestling trivia challenge this evening?
Sure, why not?
All right. Well,
Justin, let me throw a little thing in there, though.
No problem.
There's a lot of questions people ask me, and I forgot the answers, and I chalked that up to 3 concussions that I can confirm and a few that I can't confirm.
That is true. That is true. I think we've all had a couple of them in the course of our career. So
right.
Chalk that up and go. So Maestro, if you'd be so kind, if you go ahead and hit the intro music for tonight's episode of the world famous WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this week's installment of the world-famous WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls between Justin Wade and one half of the SICW Tag Team Champions, the Big Texan. In just a few moments, gentlemen, I'm going to give you information about 3 particular wrestlers that fit in a particular wrestling category. If you think you know the answer, go ahead and shout out your answer. You can shout out as many answers as you wish. The first one to win 2 out of 3 falls is tonight's winner.
All right.
Now, in honor of tonight's guest, tonight's category is Deep in the Heart of Texas. These individuals...
I got to get this right, Justin.
You better.
These individuals all have some connection to the state of Texas. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Big Texan, are you ready?
Sure.
Justin, are you ready?
As the great philosopher Al Bundy used to say, let's rock.
No.
All right, he's quoting Al Bundy. I don't know if we should be scared or we should be a little confused, but that's okay. Question number 1. This individual had a very successful run in Japan.
Bruiser Brody?
No.
Stan Hansen.
Also, what was it, Justin?
Stan Hansen.
Stan Hansen is correct. I didn't even get a chance to talk about his WCW US title
The
or
only reason I brought it up.
NWA World
Big
Championship.
Texan, you helped me with that answer. You were talking about Lariat just a little bit ago.
Well,
Okay.
so I'm a big fan of both, but I'll tell you, Bruiser Brody, he's the man.
I got to tell you right now, and I've had an opportunity to see it, and I'm just going to go on record here. I have seen you throw that lariat, and I will tell you right now, much like Stan Hansen, if you deliver on the lariat Saturday night, there will be a new champion. I can guarantee that. That lariat is perfectly 100%.
I tell you, I've broken many man's teeth, and I've wore bruises of mouth guards and teeth prints and everything on my bicep because a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between a regular clothesline and a lariat? And I said, a clothesline, they're trying to knock you down. Lariat, I'm trying to take your head off.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference.
I would agree with that. I mean, again, being a referee, I can tell you right now, clothesline, you get back up. A lariat, you don't. A lariat from the Big Texan, you know you're not getting up. So, all right, let's move on to question number 2. Are both you gentlemen ready?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This individual was known for spending many years in hailing from Mexico. However, he was born in Mission, Texas. He went on to win the WWF Intercontinental title.
Kerry?
What?
Was it Kerry Von Erich?
No.
Ooh.
As well as the WWF Tag Team Championship with Rick Martel. Name it.
Tito Santana.
Wow. Justin with a 2-0 lead. Tito Santana is correct. And now we're getting the sprinkler. Oh, no.
Horrible.
I don't give a shit.
Texan, do me a favor. I know that he's already got 2 falls, but please, metaphorically speaking, in this 3rd and final fall, please throw the metaphorical lariat and make sure that we don't have to see that again.
I would be honored. I would be honored to take a lariat from my friend. So,
all right. Question number. Oh, go ahead, Big Texan, before I go with question number 3.
If I happen to lose, I'm going to find some old pictures of Justin in my scrapbook. And I will share those to everyone.
Well, they'll probably think it's a missing person because I don't look like that anymore.
All right. Question number 3. This individual started his career in the GWF. He moved on to win championships in both WCW and the WWF.
Sean Waltman?
No. Good.
Ah, damn.
This individual is also known for being, I do believe, one of the individuals to hold the WCW Tag Team Championships the most times. But most people remember
Booker T.
That is correct.
He got it.
He got the 3rd fall. So the end result is 2-1. Justin wins tonight's WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge, but the Big Texan making sure it wasn't a sweep. So at this point, we're going to go ahead real quick here. We're going to give Justin his little moment. I hope he doesn't do the sprinkler again, but that's not anything out of the realm here.
I'm good. I'm not doing nothing.
And there you go. Okay, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, before we let the Big Texan go, I mean, again, I know he's right now at the Ace Wrestling Academy. Texan, before we let you go, I have to ask you, any final thoughts before this monumental matchup that's coming Saturday night at the East Crown to let community?
Final thoughts. When you were talking about Gary having my back and a few others having my back, there have been some that come up to me, Bobby D being one of them, because he's my brother-in-law in real life. He's my brother-in-law. And he had a match with Attila last month. And Attila just had, well, I hate to say had his way with him, but he kind of did. Even though he had his way with him, he still brought out Sheik Prater. He still brought out Joe Helms. So even when he was winning, he still had extra help. So my final thought is I just got to be prepared for everything and anything. And I know Bobby D and my tag partner, Gary Jackson, will have my back. So hopefully, if they see something coming, they're going to stop it. So it can just be me and Attila one-on-one.
And I got to tell you right now, Texan, I mean, again, with having the other half of the tag team champion and the SICW Central Stage champion having your back, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting situation if this Saturday you become the Classic Wrestling Champion, because to be honest with you, you pretty much have the corner of the gold.
Right.
There's not much else left to go here in the world of SICW. Justin, any final thoughts for the Big Texan before we let him go?
Big man, just take it to him. Don't show any weakness. Leave it all out there. Give everything you got like it's your last match, my friend.
That's all I plan to do, man.
Yep.
Leave everything right there.
And I got to tell you right now, Texan, I agree with the same thing. I've seen a lot of things go on right now. And again, speaking from experience, I got to tell you right now, Attila Khan, he's a monster. But I just, to quote the movie Major League, I got a hunch that somebody's due. And somebody like you, I mean, you're preparing that clothesline has been very effective. And I'm going to tell you, I saw that matchup between Attila Khan and Bobby D. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, I think when it comes down this coming Saturday night, we very easily could see a brand new SICW Classic Wrestling Champion. For those that want to follow you or follow SICW on social media or the internet, how can they do that, Texan?
Man, on all the socials, just type in the Big Texan. I'm going to come up on YouTube. I'll come up on the TikTok and the Instagram and the Facebook. The only thing when you Google the Big Texan, that steak place in Texas comes up. So don't Google me. Just hit me up on all the socials. You guys know my first name is Jim. It's actually Jim Hofarth. So some of the socials might be Jim, Big Texan, Hofarth, but either way, just type in the Big Texan. I'm sure I'll pop up.
Well, I got to tell you.
And now when they look you up, Jim, it's going to show Big Texan loses a 2 out of 3 game show challenge. So you got that to look forward to.
You want to see those old pictures of yourself, don't you?
That is.
I know I got them.
I got them.
Well, I got 2 more things here. Number 1, I want to officially welcome you into the WrestleTalk Podcast family, Texan, because again, this is a long time coming. I'm very happy we had you on the program here tonight. And number 2, when we have you back on the program, it's not going to be an if, it's going to be a when. My first question is going to be, and we just had, actually, matter of fact, if we can go ahead and pop it up here real quick, our good friend the Maestro, we just had a very good friend of the program check in here real quick, and of course now the Maestro is not paying attention to anything Luke Roberts is saying. Well, are you going to put up the graphic or not? We just had a special guest join us here in the chat, and you can't put it up on the screen.
I mean, you know how the boards can be sometimes. It's trying to.
He looks like he's nice and cozy in that bed right there.
Well, he's trying to wait for this to come up, and it might show up at some point. But one thing, when we start our next interview with you, Texan, other than you being the SICW Classic Wrestling Champion and one half of the tag,
there's Herb. Hey, sir.
Finally, SICW Herb Promoter's message pops up here on the screen. Only took him 5 minutes, but that's okay. Now, as we look at what's here, the first question I'm going to have next time, and I'm just going to say it up front, the Big Texan and TikTok. That's going to be a whole 30-minute interview right there. I'm just going to leave it there. The Big Texan and TikTok. We're going to have that the next time. Big Texan, thank you for coming on the program here tonight. We look forward to hearing what's going on this Saturday, and hopefully we can say on next Tuesday's program, we can have footage and or some photographs of you with a victory becoming the
There
new
we go.
SICW Classic.
Hey, brother.
That sounds great to me. My pleasure to be on here, man. You guys known you forever, so I'll be happy to come back on anytime. And I'll bring my belt.
Most definitely. Well, with that, the Big Texan here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. Thank you, Texan, and we'll be in touch with you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You saw right there the Big Texan right here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. The Maestro getting everything taken care of here tonight. Guys, I got to tell you, tonight has been a great show. I mean, we had a lot of great discussion in hour number 1. Hour number 2, the Big Texans here. Snippets of Truth with Big Daddy P. I got to tell you, to me, tonight was a great show. Jeremy, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you. What'd you think of tonight's show?
Yes, No, it was. You both did a fantastic job. It was a great pleasure to have the Alpha on here.
Yeah, he's good.
It's great having Big Texan on. Always a blast to listen to him talk. And I personally hope he kicks Attila Khan's ass, but don't mention that to Attila Khan because he might kick mine. And also, having Herb Simmons tune in every week is just, I mean, come on. Herb Simmons is one of the best minds in the business. And God love him. I can't say enough good things. And yes, Willie, you said it perfectly. Well said, Big Daddy P. Blessings to all. Having Big Daddy P on, always a blessing in and of itself. And in fact, if anybody ever has a prayer they want to send in, a prayer request, just email it to perry@paintersdream.com. I mean, goes without saying there.
Most definitely. Justin, your thoughts on tonight's show?
Tonight was great. I've been in a wrestling mood state of mind lately. I'm going to pull something out here real quick. I've been going through. I'm reading Scott Norton's autobiography right now, Strong Style. And dude, guys, if you want to know about Japanese pro wrestling, this book is it. I put on the message board that I'm trying to look for some books. I don't know if anyone responded. No one ever responds when I post stuff. So,
well, Justin, one of the things to talk about here too, and I know it wasn't on your list of things, and I will tell you up front, I have been looking for a couple of them. I wonder if you remember who this guy is.
Oh, is that Wahoo McDaniel?
Well, yes, Wahoo. And again, a matter of fact, too, Karen McDaniel wrote this book with her good friend John Cosper. You can get this at eatsleepwrestle.com. And I'm going to let you in on a little bit of the secret. We at the CAC, the Night Owl and myself, had an opportunity to sit down and have a nice conversation with Karen McDaniel. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the next few weeks, we will have Karen McDaniel here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. We're going to be talking about this great book, and there's a lot of great stories in it to take care of things here. And again, there's a lot of great books available. EatSleepWrestle.com. You also get them on Amazon.com. A lot of great things there. And again, I got to tell you, a great interview with the Big Texan. I think that was definitely one of the high points of the night. Man, we've known for many, many years. Literally, like you said, Justin, 45 minutes, almost an hour just flew by.
Yeah.
And we're going to have him back here on the program sooner rather than later, hopefully with some more hardware. Guys, I got to tell you right now, tonight's been a great show. We do need to go ahead one more time. We want to thank all of our great viewers for tuning into the program this evening. We also want to go ahead and give a shout out to all of our great sponsors. I mean, again, we couldn't do this without them. Royal Mills Transportation with our good friend DeJuan Mills, Rathbun Engraving, the WrestleTalk Podcast mugs available for $20. Send a message, WrestleTalk Podcast, here on social media, and we'll get you all the information. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, a great place to go for video gaming and a gaming experience. Interstate 70 Sports Media with the maestro Jeremy Karp. Little Popeye Designs, the home of that great WrestleTalk Podcast Tumblr. And the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. I got to tell you right now, guys, this Saturday night, SICW, East Carondelet Community Center, great night of professional wrestling action. Next week, if you're in the St. Louis area, Dynamo Pro Wrestling, Mary Snitchmas. I can't believe I said that, Jeremy. Man, I mean, that's the thing. When you brought me that poster last week, I was sitting there, and I'm just sitting here, I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, there is no way. There's no way. But now that is what it is. And right now we're going to see the Snitch, the Dynamo Pro Heavyweight Champion, and Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance's favorite wrestler, the Snitch, holding the Dynamo Pro Heavyweight Championship.
kind of gagged a little bit right there, just thinking
A
about
little bit?
Nightmare Jones.
I'm turning it into a little bit pro snitch. I might have
No.
Everybody needs their Jesse Ventura. When we do this type of format here.
Well, something, Justin, when it comes down to it, we might as well just go ahead and put hashtag silent majority up here for you and go from there. But that's okay. One thing though, again, a great show, top to bottom. We want to thank our viewers for watching the program. We'll be here next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We're going to have 2 great guests here on the program. If you want to check out the FWWC, make it a point to check them out this Thursday night, 7:30 on social media. Also, ladies and gentlemen, for more information on the WrestleTalk Podcast, make it a point, check out WrestleTalkPodcast.com. You can check us out on all forms of social media. And I'm going to tell you right now, let's go ahead real quick before we go this week. And again, our good friend Aaron Wallace putting one last little positive here in the St. Louis area. Let's go ahead and throw that up here real quick. I know it'll make the Maestro happy. It might make Justin happy. Just posted here a minute ago. We're going to wait here a second. The Blues won against the Islanders tonight.
Yeah.
Make everybody here in the St. Louis area happy. I got to tell you right now, great night. Great little piece of information. Thank you, Desiree.
Oh, man, that's a beautiful looking woman right there, isn't it, guys?
Yep, I agree. But like I said, right now we've had a great show here tonight. Make sure to check us out, WrestleTalkPodcast.com.
Ace.
All platform of social media. For the Maestro, Jeremy Carpet, for Justin Wade, this is Luke Roberts. We want to say thank you very much for joining us again. If you ever need any kind of help, if you feel like things are not going your way, make sure to check out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 988. They're available 24/7, 365. Always there to be a voice for what you need. If anything, you don't feel right, you just don't feel things are going your way, you've always got an ear to listen to. 988 for any kind of help that you need. Always make it a point, just like Big Daddy P said, if things are on your mind, talk to a friend, talk to family, talk to somebody, because they're going to be there. They're going to be that support for you that you very well will need. Once again, for the Maestro and for Justin Wade, this is Luke Roberts. We look forward to seeing you right back here next Tuesday night for the WrestleTalk Podcast. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.